How are you feeling? How are you doing? Keep it going for Nikhil. Keep it going for this funky music. Perfect. So now you don't hear it. Keep it going for yourselves for being here. So thank you. This is the best. I'm so happy to be here. My name is Esteban Gast. I'm a comedian, also the comedian in residence at Generation180, and I'm just so thrilled to be here and let you know what's happening. I'm the host, and I'm also one of the fixers who'll be sharing the story. So my job is to tell you what's going to happen, and then I'll come on at the very end, and we'll look at each other, and I'll be like, we loved it. And you'll be like, oh my gosh, we did. And we'll be like, we lived, we laughed, we loved, and we'll all sort of have a moment together, and then we'll go to the reception. Does that make sense? Is everyone okay with that? Are you ready to live, laugh, and love in the next hour or so, 45 minutes? I'm so excited to be here. So tonight what's going to happen is 5 fixers are going to come up and they're going to share some stories, and we're going to get to know these really compelling moments in their lives that explain the why of what they're doing, right? Get to know the humans behind us. But the important thing, and I'll say this at the end too, is there's 5 of us, but there's 50 Grist fixers just this year, and there's so many from so many other years. So you're hearing some of our stories, then hopefully afterwards you make a friend, you go, tell me your story, and then they give you their 10-minute rehearsed presentation. It's perfect. And they just stand and you're sitting there having a drink and they're like, and then in 3rd grade, Mrs. Brindle told me, you can do more than you think. And that's what tonight will be. The stories were also in partnership, and I want to give them a shout out with Back Pocket Media. So we just want to thank them. Yeah. Perfect applause break. Anytime I say Back Pocket Media, we erupt into applause. I'll tell you a little bit about me, and then we'll get to my story. My name is Esteban, the son of 2 Colombian immigrants. They're actually in the crowd right now, Mom and Dad. Yes. Wow, Mom, Dad, huge applause break. Back Pocket, you're working your way up. You'll get there one day, Back Pocket. It's great. I'm Colombian. My name's Esteban, and sometimes people get confused when I introduce myself as Esteban, and I figured it out. I think it's because I look like a property brother. I don't know if you've ever... I look at the show, I'm like, mis hermanos de propiedad. Vamos a construir unas casitas, vamos hermanos. But I love Colombia. Growing up, we used to go back there all the time, and I think my environmental activism and my love of nature started in Colombia. I don't know if you haven't been, go. It's gorgeous. I'll take you. Just find me after the show. It's so there's like cities are surrounded by nature, and the mountains are unbelievable, and the beaches are gorgeous, and you can't help but be there and not fall in love with nature. And I think if you fall in love with nature, you're also like, this is a thing that should continue. And that's activism, baby. Should this continue? And the story I want to start with, okay, I'm telling you just a few stories. It actually takes place in Colombia and in nature. And it's around 25 years ago, and I'm in Colombia. And I'm with my family, and we're at my uncle's farm. It's right outside Bogota in Colombia. And there's this huge river in his farm, okay? And the river is like as big as this stage. And in the river, there's rocks. There's like these big rocks that you can jump to. Right? So my brother and I are kids, and we're jumping from rock to rock in the river. And while we're doing that, my parents are like on the side of the river, okay? And my mom is great. I love her so much, and she's like, 2 moms in one. I don't know if anyone can relate. She's like adventure mom and kind of scared mom. So she's on the side and she's like, have fun responsibly. You know, and she's like, you could jump to that rock carefully. Like she's both. So I'm going like this, and she's giving me these instructions, and my brother and I are laughing. My dad's on the side of the river too, and my dad is great. I love him so much, and he's a genius. He has a PhD, listen to this, are you ready? A PhD in fluid dynamics. His PhD is in, give it up. Yeah, you know what, make a lot of noise for fluid dynamics. And that's what tonight is about. He spent years, almost a decade, studying how water droplets come apart. Isn't that amazing? So I'm sitting on this river, on a rock, and I see like water and river, and he sees decades of research. He's sitting on the bank of the river, and he's like, yes, just as I thought. I'm on to you, water. You'll never surprise me. So my parents are there, and then I'm jumping from rock to rock, and I remember at one point I look back, and I like don't quite remember how I got here. Like the path is there, and I want to go to this next rock, but the rock is like really far away. I'm a little kid, and I don't know if I can jump it, and I'm thinking like, is it left foot, is it right foot? And I look at the rock, and I look at the river, and I look at the rock, and I look at the river, and I get a little nervous. And I take a breath. In showbiz, that's called a cliffhanger. When I was younger, my family and I, we went to Atlanta on a vacation. We went to the CNN headquarters, and we went to the CNN gift shop in the CNN headquarters. And there's a Jerry Seinfeld comedy special, DVD. I'm telling you for the last time, it's one of his most famous comedy specials in the CNN headquarters gift shop. We bought it, and I started watching it, and I loved it. And I also looked this up, this is just a fun fact. The majority of CNN's revenue is from DVDs from their gift shop. Which I was like, listen, we need independent media, keep it up. So when I was younger, we bought this DVD and I loved it. I was like, stand-up comedy is so amazing. I was like, this is the thing I want to be doing. And I remember thinking, man, if everything goes well in my life, maybe one day they'll sell my special at the CNN headquarters in Atlanta. That's the height of showbiz. Okay, a lot of life has passed since those moments. It's 2015. In 2015, I'm teaching at the university level during the day. I'm teaching like social impact and social change. And at night, I'm doing stand-up comedy. And in 2015, I get the opportunity to do stand-up comedy full-time, which is really exciting. It's an easy leap to make. But when you do stand-up comedy full-time, you start at the very bottom, and like the path of it is you like drive 8 hours and do like a show, and you're like at small comedy clubs, and you're like in casinos, and you're like in bars. And I was in the Midwest, so this is true. I was performing in a lot of barns. I am huge in the barn circuit. I'm huge in Effingham, Illinois. You know where that is? I'm huge there. Shout out Effingham. It's the nation's second largest cross is in Effingham. You all knew that. I don't need to tell you that. It's in the postcards. So I'm traveling, and as I'm going, I'm like, this is the dream. I'm doing stand-up. This is the path. And as I'm driving from show to show, and I'm alone on the road, I start to realize I'm unhappy. This is not good. Like I don't feel connected to the work. I know this is the thing I'm like supposed to do if you want to be a comedian, but I'm just like pretty deeply unhappy. And this is vulnerable, but at the same time, I was going, like my wife at the time asked me for a divorce, which also I was like pretty open to because I kept calling her my wife at the time, which was one of the biggest things. Like now, don't feel bad. I have an amazing partner, an amazing girlfriend, an amazing partner now. Her name is Misha. She rocks. I love her. And and I've never said my partner at the time. You know what I mean? Like I go, there's a permanence. So my wife at the time goes, let's divorce. And I'm driving, and I'm like depressed and down and divorced. And then I remember thinking, what are the things I want to do? And I journal. I want nature, and I want community, and I want to make an impact. And I remember this place called Kaluyala. Kaluyala. It's when I got my master's, I did a fellowship there, but remember this, it's like this eco community in the jungles of Panama. It's people all over the world, a lot of Latin American folks. It's in Panama, it's this eco community, it's this like experiment in sustainable living. We grew all our own food, so everything we had, we grew there. It had an all renewable energy. It was this experiment in sustainable living. So I remember thinking, maybe this is where I should go. So I decided to go there, and I remember thinking, this is a detour. But I also, I don't know for you, but I've seen a lot of like Hallmark movies, and I was like, divorce always has a whimsical detour. Like I was like, I will eat, pray, love. This is what you're supposed to do as a young divorcee. So I arrive to the jungle, to Kaluyala. I take one plane ride, 2 bus rides, this is true, and a 3-mile hike. I cross a river, and I arrive to Kaluyala. And living in the jungle It is great. It's like straight up ego community. I'm in a tent. It is madness. Like, I learned a few things. I'll share some of them. I learned that anytime you put your shoes on, you should put them like face them downwards and hit them, because snakes and scorpions could be inside. Some people know. Some people know. A lot of people are nodding. I also learned that like sustainable living is for everyone. I ended up running their study abroad program, but also while I was there, I did this thing that's called Jungle Talk Show, just to no one in particular. We didn't even film it. We just did this. There's nothing to do there, so there's 200 people with no Wi-Fi, no electricity, no nothing. So we just decorated this and pretended we had a talk show. It was really great. I remember there's moments where you would just stick your hand out and you could feel the rain on your skin. No one else can feel it for you. Only you can let it in. No one else can speak the words on your lips. The rest is still unwritten. I also remember thinking, this is a little bit of a detour. Like I was like, I kind of want to, like growing up, I want to be like Jon Stewart, and here I am like hosting a talk show and getting heckled by howler monkeys. And then, are you ready? 2 years in Colorado. After 2 years, Vice decided to make a TV show about us. So Vice, there was Viceland. It was this TV show coming out on Viceland, and it was like, it was exciting. Spike Jonze is an executive producer on the show. There were billboards in LA, and I was like, this is it, baby. This is the dream. Right before the TV show came out, I moved to LA, and the TV show bombed. You wouldn't like it, I didn't like it, we both wouldn't like it. I'm not even gonna tell you more about it, because you wouldn't like it. And then a small and disloyal following. Crickets? Is that what that is? That was the show? So now I'm in LA, and one TV show down. And I was like, that was a success. But here's what did happen. The TV show was this like paradigm shift for me. The TV show, I like thought the whole time that I had to do comedy a certain way and had to do climate a certain way, right? I always had like education over here and entertainment over here. I had like, kind of like climate and activism over here and comedy over here. And the fact that I went somewhere, literally with like no Wi-Fi, no comedy club, no streets, nothing like that, and a TV show, like that was a story worth telling, right? Vice came down, they filmed this, there was a documentary series, they're like, this is interesting. Even if the show, you wouldn't like it. Even if that didn't happen, this thought of like, wait a minute, I don't know if I'm like jumping from rock to rock, like, what if it just is all connected? Right, this thought that I'm like, oh, I'm here and now I'm here and now I need to decide if I'm here or not. It's like there's just a river that connects it all. In 2020, I got a LinkedIn message from this woman named Wendy Filio. She's the executive director. She just wooed. Her colleague just wooed. She's the executive director of a nonprofit called Generation180. Generation180 is this national nonprofit. They do so much incredible stuff. They like inspire people and equip people to tackle like these high-impact climate solutions. So they like build community around EV adoptions and electrification and putting solar on schools. Anyway, they're great. She shoots me a message and we talk and we like do work on some videos together. And then her and I have this conversation. And I love this conversation. She goes, Esteban, what would it look like for you to like bring the things that you do in terms of comedy to the work, right? To this big nonprofit, to the climate fight. She's like, it can be part-time, you keep doing comedy, but like the way I want to work with you is you. Of course it's connected, comedy and climate. And I think this is so important. She's not pitching me on like communications consultant. You know what I mean? Like she's not pitching me on like help with our marketing. The title she pitches me is comedian in residence. And I don't know, like for you, if you're like, okay, that's a title. For me, that's huge. That's so, she's not removing the comedy of it all. She's not saying, oh, to work on this nonprofit that where we tackle the climate crisis, you gotta make some compromises. She goes, yeah, comedian in residence. So when Grist was like, hey, Esteban, what's your title? I was like, yeah, I'm a comedian, but I'm a comedian in residence. Like that's what I'm bringing It's all connected. And Wendy and Kay and Jamie, and there's so many others at Gen180 are the reason I got to stand up here and ramble to all of you. And that's what we're trying to do, this thought that we're like when it comes to climate, it's all connected. With Generation180, we co-created this thing called the Climate Comedy Cohort. Climate Comedy Cohort, we made this with our friends over at American University, the Center for Media and Social Impact, specifically like Good Laugh Initiative, really wonderful. And what we do is we connect comedians to climate experts. And we have writers' rooms, and we write jokes, and we go on tours. We went on a big tour last year. We make videos for people like Comedy Central and Adam McKay and all these people. But I think more importantly than that is we just tell comedians that they are invited. We give them a specific invitation. We give them an invitation and a community that they, doing the things that they are doing, are invited into this. And I think that is so big. This idea that it isn't distant, it's all connected. My dad is I love him so much, he's one of my heroes. And if you look at him, you go, environmentalist? Like he has graduate degrees in the science. When we were kids, he would go to the Chicago River and test it for pollutants with like Sierra Club, I think. Like he's in. He looks great in flannel. He had a beard for a long period of time. Are you with me? Like cool glasses. Even though he didn't drive it, you'd be like, I think you have a Subaru. And I love my dad so much, and I go, oh, that's an environmentalist. And I think sometimes I would go like, when I am doing my environmental things, I will be like my dad, right? And I'd put on a flannel, grow a beard, and go, yes. And I think now I go, he's him, he's the greatest. And I'm like a little silly Billy who tells jokes. And I think both of those are environmentalists. And I think that shift for me is what we're trying to do with comedians and maybe even culture at large. It's all connected. So, it's 20 years ago. I'm on the rock, and I look at the rock, and I look at the river, I look at the rock, and I look at the river, and I go, you know what? Here we go. And I jump, and I hit the rock, and I don't land on it, and I spill into the river. And I'm laughing, and my brother's laughing, and my parents are laughing, and I'm totally okay. And then I hear my parents yell from the bank of the river, get back on the rock. You can try again, but responsibly. Thank you.